Hello, 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 hello. Ugh. Again, another race weekend and not an ideal situation. Hopefully, I was hoping actually, let me rather say that. I was hoping to have things sorted out and we would be able to do a watch along from this weekend onwards, but issues are still persisting. I am caught in a whole lot of sensitive areas and I'm still unable to do a live stream. So we need to bear with videos being uploaded, and along with that, I need to bear with the notebook. Babaji's notebook back. Unfortunately, Babaji's notebook is so irritating, man. So irritating, the notebook. So irritating. You need to note a whole lot of things. And even then, I miss out on a whole lot of things. So, yeah. It would have been very easy for me to miss MotoGP and just stick to, let's say, Formula One, because I know more about Formula One than I do of MotoGP. Uh, but yeah, I'm here. I chose to go down this route, so we will see it through to the end, and we shall bear together. You shall bear me. I shall bear these issues, and these issues, well, they are bearing something. I don't know. I don't know. It's a whole lot of mumbling going on. It's late. The race finished a bit ago. It's quite late where I am. Hopefully, I get to the end without losing my mind and without feeling drowsy. Hopefully, that's the goal for tonight. That's the goal for tonight. So this weekend, MotoGP hits France. The Le Mans circuit. That's French Le Mans. For non-French people, Le Mans. However you want to pronounce it, it's all fine. Doesn't make a big issue for me. I'm just here to yap, blab, and waste your time. Yes, I'm just here to waste your time. So what we get into is Q2. Again, practice and all, no time whatsoever for that. I do just glance over the results, see if something dramatic happened or not. Otherwise, it was quite calm practice and everything. Marc Marquez, though, had to go through Q1. That was one thing of note, if I'm right. If I am right. Marc Marquez and Fabio Quartararo are the two drivers to make it out of Q1 and to join the other, is it 10 riders? 12 riders in Q2. No, should be 10 riders. 10 riders in Q2 plus the two make 12. Yes. See, losing my head already. Anyways, by the way, just bear with me. There's going to be quite a bit of off-topic nonsense just to keep myself awake. Just bear with me. I don't know how this video is gonna come out. It's gonna come out one way, not sure how. Bear with me. So Marc and Quartararo, the two bikes to come out of Q1 and join the Q2 pack. Now into Q2, everyone came out as the session started, as the Q2 session started. Everyone came out and set their bankers. Marc was following Alex, and Alex seemed like he was on a pretty good push lap, and Marc behind him was just closing the distance in a whole lot of braking zones and also catching up, speeding out the corner. And it seemed that Marc gained time over Alex, and in my head, Alex was setting red sectors through and through, but not to be the case actually. So Marc did set a faster lap than Alex, but Digi went tops, and I think Marc and Alex were uh, at the end. I think they were sorry at the end of their first runs on the first set of tires. They were, I think, P was it 6 and 7 or 5 and 6 somewhere there. So DG went tops the opening as the session opened, and everyone went out on the first cool lap and then a push lap. DG went tops. Marc and them, I don't know, Marc and Alex, not sure what happened. It was not a good weekend for the Marcus brothers as a whole. Let me just say the spoiler while we're on them. Pedro Acosta, he was they were thereabouts with Digi in the first banker that he set, but so normally with MotoGP, it's not like Formula One, where you just do one push lap and then you have to do cool laps and all. You can do multiple push laps in MotoGP. So Pedro set his first banker, and then following Digi through the second banker, uh, there was, let's just say, some miscommunication or whatever, and he ended up going wide. Pedro ended up running through the gravel. He was lucky he didn't end up spilling into the gravel. Stayed on his two wheels, rejoined later on. So it was a bit of a scare for Pedro, but everything turned out quite well. Uh, Again, he completed his banker lap, so it wouldn't have been a big of an issue because he had one lap under his belt and he had a time on the board. Apart from that, the factory Aprilias, they took some time to get going, but once they did, they ended up topping the timing sheets, both of them, being Jorge and what's his name, Jorge and Benzeki. Both of them ended up going tops. What's going on? Okay. Both factory Aprilias top when they came around for their first bankers. Uh, 0.06, so that would be 600ths of a second. Covered Bezeki P1, Digia P2, and Jorge in P3. So that's 0.060 seconds covered the top three riders. Okay. At the end of the first runs, then everyone came in, fresh set of tires, fuel, what, seeing the sector times and everything. And Marc, he was P4 and about 4 tenths down. No, he was what was he? I think he was P5 and he was about 4 tenths down. Before he came out for his second run, his second attempt at qualifying. Hey, again, not the best of lives. Just bear with me, man. I'm just trying to make it through this. And there's a whole lot of things going on just outside the window. Uh, Marc, new set of tires came out, and he was about 4 tenths down from the pole time. On the new set of tires, on his first push lap, banged in a lap time that took him straight up to P1. Along with that, he put himself ahead of Jorge, who also improved on his time. Digi, who matched Marc. So Digi was P2, Jorge was P3. And then Alex, on his first run with the new tires, ended up sliding out. So pretty sure he came in for a change of tires. Pretty sure. I haven't noted it, but I'm pretty sure he would have changed his tires. Pecco also out of nowhere. Pecco didn't seem to have the pace, from what I understand. That he didn't have the running pace to be at the top. And the way that Marc started Saturday, there's a practice session that happens on Saturday before all the qualifying sessions and all. And in that, Marc was tops. Marc Marquez topped that session by quite a way. And Pecco wasn't close to him, wasn't close to the Aprilias. So it was a surprising lap that Pecco pulled out for pole. Uh, just just got edges, just got a bit clear ahead of Marc. It wasn't by a huge lot. It wasn't even by a tenth, less than a tenth. And then DJ, where are we? Oh, DJ and Marc coming. So they did the first laps on the new tires, and then around when was it? Around the 3 minute mark or so, when they needed to do their final runs for qualifying. DG and Marc were playing cat and mouse on who was going to follow who and everything, and in that whole mess up, Marc ended up losing out. He couldn't get his lap started on time. That means that the next time he came around, he had to make it count. He didn't make it count. I don't know what happened with Marc. He was, I guess, he got too far caught up in the whole getting a toe kind of situation or getting a marker kind of situation. Ended up not setting a better lap compared to his previous one. Everyone else came through the line, and they were pretty much what you would expect. Pecco again put a lap together out of nowhere, went past Marc for P1. Marc was P2. Digi was close, but then Digi and Marc ended up getting split by Bezz. And in the end, right at the end, when that checkered flag was waving, the only bike on a lap was Digi. And Digi, the first three sectors, he set red sectors. I think coming into sector 4, he was about 4,000s within touching distance of Pecco. So it was all into sector 4. That was going to be the difference, the acceleration at the final corner, and how much lean angle you can put in and how much speed you can carry with lean angle. That was all coming down into sector 4. And DG being just 4,000 4,000s, yes, 0.004 4,000s of a second behind Pecco. It was all into that sector 4 that was going to make the difference. And not sure what happened. It seemed like Digi was clean. Even maybe coming out the final corner, maybe he got a wiggle on. I didn't see anything that would disrupt him, but he ended up losing about 2/10 in that final sector. And he couldn't improve. He couldn't improve. Otherwise, a front row definitely was on the cards for Digi. Possibly P1 was on the cards for DJ. That's Q2. Let's head on to the results of said session Q2. Yes, there we go. Pecco. Session is Q2, yes. Pecco ended up bagging pole by 129.634. Marquez was how many? 129.646. So it's 0.0 12, the difference between the two. 12 hundredths of a second between Marc and Pecco for P1. And Bezz also came in close. So basically the top four were within a tenth of each other. Bezz was how many? 11 hundredths behind Marc, and Digi ended up being quite a bit away. He was about 60, so 43, 44 hundredths behind Bezz. So Pecco with the 29.634 in P1 and Digi in P4 with the 29.699. That's how close it was, the top four. And then you had a huge gap. You just had a huge gap. The top four, Pecco, Marc, Bezz, DJ, all within touching distance of each other. And then Pedro Acosta was 29.8. Acosta was quite far. Quadraro could have possibly gotten through on him, but not to be. They were within 1500s or so of each other. And then between Pecco and Mia was even tighter. It was, I think, about 6,000 or something like that between the two. Uh, Quattararo in sixth and Joan Mir in seventh. Jorge, not sure what happened, eh? Jorge lost out big time. Jorge lost out big time. Bezz did ended up putting things straight. Jorge, I thought he put some laps together, but not to be the case. Jorge put up a where's Jorge 129.847, about 2 tenths and a bit behind the lead. Where's Jorge? Jorge. Yeah, 2 tenths and a bit behind the lead. That was Jorge. P8. Agura in P9, Alex Marquez P10, Johan Zarco 11th, and Alex Rins in 12th. So that right there is your story for qualifying. Pecco, shock pole. I don't think anyone expected it. Not even sure Pecco expected it himself. But yeah, Pecco bags pole. From pole we move on to the sprint. Where's the sprint? Yes. Lap 1. So this is your starting grid qualifying that I just showed. They on the grid slots. You had 5 red lights on, 5 red lights off. Digi got a huge wheelie. He initially got off the line well, but ended up wheeling a whole lot of wheel spin and dropping like a rock, basically. Fabio Di Gianantonio. Bezz took the lead from both the factory Ducatis into that long turn 1 heading into the first chicane. I think the first chicane is turn 2 and 3, if I'm not wrong. Bezz was leading both Ducatis, Acosta, and a whole bunch of other bikes. Now, in the midst of this, Jorge Martin was battling Acosta, everyone fighting for the inside line heading into the left-hander. The entry chicane, the entrance of the chicane was a left-hander. Not sure why everyone was so far over to the left-hand side. So your racing line for a left-hander is on the right side. You need to open up the corner, and it seemed Jorge Martin, right place, right time. He didn't have traffic ahead of him, just had the 2 Ducatis and his teammate. His teammate was defending from both, and everyone was, let's say, cautious. They went attacking into the chicane full speed. So seeing that the offline is congested, Jorge Martin literally look at his onboard if you can. When he enters into the chicane, he's literally on the racing line. Everyone else was defending off racing line for some reason. Jorge perfectly online with his braking point mid chicane. Could have ran wide, didn't, kept his bike under control. And both the Ducatis were offset because of Bezz defending. Jorge ended up leveling Bezz into the entry of the chicane. On exit, Bezz just didn't have any answer. Bezz was basically occupied with the guys behind, and Jorge from nowhere popped in a front wheel, popped in a full Aprilia ahead of Bezz into turn 1. Took the outside into turn 1, then turned into the inside, and Jorge got the lead out that first chicane. Again, I think it's turn 2 and 3 where that chicane is. I may be wrong about the turns, but basically the first chicane when you start your lap. Ended up in P1, Jorge, Bezz P2, Ducatis, both of them factory Ducatis P3 and 4. DJ dropped all the way down to P14. Quartararo was hanging on to P4 Marc, ahead of Marc and Acosta. Marc got eaten up in that whole chaos at the chicane. Uh, Everyone was defending, everyone was trying not to hit the other guy, and everyone was, I don't know why, but into the chicane. They were all offline. They were defending offline from each other. And in that chaos, Quartararo got ahead. And while in the chaos coming out the chicane, Quartararo ended up being ahead of Marc. And he was holding on to P4 from Marc and Pedro Acosta. On lap 2, Pecco tried offsetting Bezz's lines. Pecco and Bezz were fighting for 2 and 3. And Luca Marini and Jonas Flogger. Jonas Flogger, by the way, he's substituting for a injured Maverick Vinales. They both ended up crashing Luca and Flogger. Individual crashes, not together. And Hoy pushed the gap to 0.5 seconds clear by the end of the second lap. So imagine the pace Jorge had. Marc lost positions to Acosta, and on lap 3 in that first chicane, lost to John Mir as well. So terrible opening exchanges for Marc Marquez in that whole race. The whole sprint. Marc just didn't look like himself. He didn't look like he was a world champion. He didn't look like he was riding a Ducati. Seemed like he was on those Repsol Hondas from his later career at Honda. The one that was really hard to drive, and he somehow put it at the top of the grid, and then he was just fighting to hang on. Basically, that is the whole feeling that Marc gave throughout the sprint. Lost it to Juan in that chicane. Yes, at turn 2 and 3. I think it's turn 2 and 3. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bezz later on that lap, on lap 2, ended up running wide and let Pecco through. Where else? Yeah, in this whole chaos of Bezz defending from Pecco, and then Bezz having the mistake into that long left-hander. I'm not sure when it comes, not sure what corner it is. I'm very bad with corner names, bear with me, but that whole left-hander, I want to say in the middle part of the track. Bezz ended up running wider. Pecco cut through and then took P2. And by this point, Jorge in P1 opened up the gap to over a second. I think it was a second and a tenth or so. Pecco P2 after the overtake on Bezz in P3. And Quartararo still holding on to P4. DJ crashed through turn 3 and through turns 3 and 4. So basically, I think through that chicane. I think it's through the chicane. Is it through 2 and 3 or 3 and 4? There's that chicane over there. So basically, he crashed into one corner, and then the slide basically continued into the next. Is what I was trying to note. On lap 6, Anea crashed out from P12. On lap 7, Frankie dropped it. Sorry, in the middle of all this, on lap 5, start finish straight, Acosta got... Who was Acosta fighting? I have no idea what I've written. Acosta got Marc. Acosta. Oh, he got Fabio. On lap 5, Pedro Acosta got ahead of Fabio Quartararo for P5. Again, Fabio was hanging on to P4 in the opening exchanges. On lap 5, Acosta gets through on Fabio for P4. And then lap 6, Anea crashes. Lap 7, Frankie drops it. Lap 8, a second plus gap between P1 to 2. and then a second plus gap between P2 and 3, and then a second plus gap between 3 and 4, P3 and P3 and P4. And then on the last lap, this is where Marc had that whole high side. So when the during the sprint, right, during the whole length of the sprint, because Marc crashed out basically on the last lap. Anytime that we would cut into Marc braking, right, just pay attention to his rear tire. His rear tire is constantly lifting off the ground, and it just seems that that bike is not settled under braking, under heavy braking. Maybe it had a part to play in it. I'm given to understand that for 2027, these whole shot devices, I think they might be removed, possibly. But I don't know what's going on because down the straight, of course, they make the bikes go down more streamlined, more speed. But I think they're having some, these devices are having some issues engaging and disengaging or whatever. So not sure exactly what that was all about, but basically, Marc was fighting Acosta, Fabio, and Juan Mir and Ayagura and all these guys. And I guess he was just eventually he ended up driving angry. He ended up driving with the red mist that why can't this bike work? Why can't it do what I want it to do? So heading into the heavy braking, he had to get on some lean angle. But I don't know, man, how he got that high side. I guess he felt the bike slipping away, tried to correct it, and then overcorrected, and then flung over. But it was a terrible landing. If you saw the landing in slow motion, head hit first. He didn't land directly on his head, but the first point of contact between Marc mid-air and the ground was the side of his head, and then the rest of the body followed. And I didn't see a visual of the camera following Marc throughout the crash, but from the cuts that I saw that were broadcasted, basically, it seemed like perhaps maybe the bike might have just hit Marc after tumbling. But I don't think that's the case because he ended up walking away at this point, and the ruled out came on Sunday, if I'm not wrong. Marc got ruled out on Sunday, if I'm not wrong. Maybe even after the sprint. I'm not sure. This thing time framing might be a bit off, but basically Marc has been ruled out. And yeah, that was it. P1 Jorge Martin, P2 Pecco. No one had any answers to Jorge's pace once he got clear. No one had any answers to Jorge's pace once he got in clear air. In the race, Jorge Martin finished P1. Scored 12 points, maximum points for Jorge, by the way, this weekend. Finished P1 ahead of Pecco. Pecco finished a second behind Jorge. Marco finished. Is this gap to the rider in front or the rider behind? Don't know. I think it's gap to the leader. So basically, let me just leave that alone because it's a bit confusing for me. Hoi P1 a second and a bit behind is Pecco, and then quite the ways away, Bezecchi P3, that's your podium. 2 factory Aprilias and a Ducati. Aprilia have turned up with a bike this season. Pedro Costa took P4. Fabio Quartararo has done well. The highest finishing Frenchman in P5. Joan Mir finally finished the race, thank God. It's not the first time that he's finished the race, but Thank God he's gotten to the checkered flag, is what I mean. Hate to see him crash. Ayagura P7 and Alex Marquez P8. I thought Ayagura would have had more pace. He seemed to have a bit more promise this weekend, but not to be the case in the sprint. Alex, it just seemed a struggle for Gresini in general. Diego Morera P9. Joan Zarco in P10, winner of Le Mans last year. This year, nothing really doing for Joan Zarco. Famin Aldeguer P11 again. The kid is on a bike rehabbing. That's a big plus sign. Let the kid rehab in peace. Brad Binder P12. KTM's not sure what's going on. I thought Brad would have been somewhere at the top with Acosta, not to be the case. And then Brad's been struggling. Sorry, I'm saying Brad's been struggling. He's been heavily struggling this season. Alex Rins P13. Toprak, where's Toprak? P14. Jack Miller P15 and DJ bringing up the final finishing position in P16. Now you're not classified riders, you're riders that crashed out or whatever, retired or whatever. Raul Fernandez, Marc Marquez, Frankie Morbidelli, Enea Bastianini, Jonas Flogger, and Luca Marini, your riders to not finish the sprint race. Jorge Martin done superb, man. Done superb this weekend. That Aprilia, I tell you, these guys took time to create an Aprilia. When Aleix retired a couple of seasons ago, Aleix, when did he retire? Last season, Jorge was injured. Last season, they had the drama. So 24, when Aleix retired, it gave me a feel of Sebastian Vettel. I mean, Seb retired, and then the following year, Fernando scored all those podiums. Aleix retired, and then okay, Aprilia took a year, but then also they didn't have two riders. They just had Bezzecchi to give the developmental direction. But then 2 years later, Aprilia have rocked up with a bike that is perhaps better than the Ducati. Problem is, I'm not going to say that because, what's his name? Pecco crashed out. Pecco was over driving the bike in the race, so it seemed logical for him to crash out. Marc mentioned that he's been having issues riding. His previous surgeries, they had a screw put into his shoulder or his arm or whatever, and I think the screw came undone or something. He was saying that, so they were already looking at scheduling a surgery for him. He's not riding at 100%. So, not sure. I'm going to say that the Aprilia is the best bike on the grid. Ducati is still there. But again, the rider makes the difference in MotoGP. Your rider, a lot of the time, makes the difference. And with Jorge at 100%, I want to see Jorge go toe to toe with Marc. I don't care if it's for the championship or not, but for just for race wins, it's a fight that we should see. I think we'd all enjoy it. Getting to the race, let's get to the race. Pecco got wheel spin and a wheelie off the line Bezz with a clean start got to P1. Yeah, got to P1. By turn 1 he was already leading. Acosta and Quartararo daring in the starts, daring moves, high risk moves, and made up positions. P3 and P4 is what they got, Acosta and Quartararo. Martin got blocked in and compromised. Uh, what? So P7 for him. So basically, Martin in the chicane, he couldn't find open space and he couldn't get through on the bikes ahead. He couldn't let off the brakes. He had to stay on the brakes to avoid not crashing into the other riders near him. So he got blocked in at the chicane on the opening lap. Digi, with start problems, this time managed to have a decent start, managed to keep P5. On lap 2, Alex crashed out, heavily slid on his right side, and I think it was into that first chicane when you open your lap. Basically, it was a left-hander, and then you'd expect your rider to be on the left side of the bike, but then Alex was on the right side of the bike through a left-hander. So it was probably a high side that he got, but I never saw a replay of exactly what happened to him. Bezz was in P1, 0.5 seconds ahead of Acosta, who just got ahead of Fabio for P2. And so your order was Bezz P1, half a second clear of Acosta P2, Quartararo P3, Pecco P4, and Pecco was showing good pace. Jorge got to P6 from Ayogura. Ayogura was running ahead of him, and he managed to get through on Ayogura by lap 2. By lap 5, Pecco got Quartararo for P3 and was running down, what's his name? Acosta. The way that he overtook Quartararo was on the run down into the first chicane. Basically, by the time you got to that first chicane, on the brakes, Pecco leveled Quartararo for P3. Bezz was in P1, 0.5 seconds ahead of Acosta in P2. And Pecco was closing in the whole time onto Acosta and was looking for a move basically into the chicane, but nothing doing for him. So then the whole lap, the whole rest of the lap, the rest of lap 6, he ended up just tailing Acosta throughout. And he was showing his wheel here and there, maybe offsetting Pecco, Acosta's line, but nothing doing for him on that lap. And then on lap 7, at the end of lap 6, shooting down the pit straight on the start of lap 7, basically he set it up into the entry of the chicane. Acosta kept the racing line, and then Pecco just went down the inside, blocked past him, and got it. And then Digi and Jorge at this point also cleared. What was his name? Who was it? It should have been Fabio, and they also made up places, and they also upped their pace and made it up to P4 and P5, Digi and Jorge. And then weather was around, it was cloudy, it wasn't such a hot day, and we were told that rain might be on its way. So I think that was the reason that early on many drivers didn't really bother managing, and they thought, oh, let's just make hay while the sun is shining, and then we'll deal with the end of the race when we get to the end of the race. On lap 8, 0.9 seconds, so basically 9 tenths, Bezz was ahead of Pecco. Acosta was keeping Pecco just at arm's length. Acosta didn't have pace to attack Pecco for a long time. Well, for the most part, let's say. So Acosta just had to keep tailing Pecco through and through. Acosta just didn't have pace to show Pecco his front wheel. And then it was 8 tenths to Digi. From Acosta to Digi, it was 8 tenths in P4. And Jorge was close to Digi, by the way. Jorge and Digi didn't have that much of a gap between them. On lap 9, Jorge and Digi wasted time battling each other. They lost out a second to Acosta ahead, and Pecco at this point as well, again, make hay while the sun was shining. So Pecco cut 4 tenths into Bezz's gap and brought it back down to around half a second. Martin ended up getting through on Digi, and at this point they were about point 7, point 8 seconds behind Acosta, and then they ended up losing a second. They ended up being 1.8 seconds behind Acosta. So on lap 13, so for this is the tail of basically lap 9 and 10, and then for a couple of laps everything sort of settled down. People were cooling things off, people were maintaining position, let's say holding position. So on lap 13, your order was P1 Bezz, of course, 0.5 seconds to Pecco. This gap was basically maintained. Pecco didn't have an answer for Bezz for a long time. And then P3 Acosta. Acosta was just in touching distance with Pecco, but couldn't do anything. And between Pecco and Jorge in P4, it was a second and a half, 1.5 seconds, the gap. On lap 15, Pecco was dropping from Bezz, and Acosta was pressuring Pecco, and Jorge also at this point was he was closing the gap to Acosta. Jorge had nothing to lose. He threw the Hail Mary and he just kept pushing the whole race basically. On lap 16, Pecco crashed out. On lap 16, Pecco crashed out. Pecco trying to keep up with the pace that Bezzecchi was setting. Now, Bezzecchi wasn't slow by any means, but compared to the riders that were behind him, compared to the charge of Jorge, at one point the charge that Ayogura was putting up, Bezz was slower than them, but he was running lead pace, just slower than a couple of guys. And Pecco, in a bid to try and keep up with Bezz, I guess he just overcooked his tires, and then in a bid to keep pushing, to keep in touch with Bezz, to keep up with Bezz, he ended up crashing out. Jorge, at this point on lap 16, as Pecco crashed out, Jorge got onto the rears of Acosta. Jorge in the last couple of laps cut 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths even on Bezz, and then that made him the fastest rider on track. He cut all these tenths on Bezz and them. I think on one lap when he was behind Quartararo, he cut about 6, 7 tenths, and on that same lap he ended up overtaking Quartararo. So Bezz's Jorge's pace was just unmatched from the midway point to the end. Jorge's pace was just unmatched. Late race pace was unmatched. On lap 18, Jorge got Acosta into the chicane. Again, that chicane was the, let's say, the most popular place this weekend for overtaking. There was a couple of other corners, but the chicane was the main one. And the gap between Bezz P1, Jorge P2 was 1.6 seconds. Now, let's not forget, Jorge and Digi ended up battling. They ended up losing out a second to the lead riders. So you would argue that at this point, Jorge should have been just 0.6 seconds behind, 6 tenths behind Bezz in P1. But now just look from where Jorge comes from, right? Jorge 1.6 when he got into P2, 1.6 behind Bezz. He cleared Acosta. Acosta into the chicane, tried the cutback, but nothing was doing for Acosta. And Acosta, again, I think he was just running out of tires basically the whole race. Joan Mir, basically this whole race, front runners were mostly settled. You had guys like Jorge come through. For most of the race, you had guys like Digi early on, they were putting up a show. But most of the race was Enea, Ayagura, Fabio, Ralph Fernandez. In this mid pack is basically where you had most of the action going on. John Mir finally got through on Quartararo for P6, and Jorge ended up cutting the gap by 1.1. Sorry, he ended up cutting the gap to 1.1 seconds on the next lap. So Jorge was just on a charge behind Bezz with 8.5 laps to go. So this is halfway around lap 19. P1 Bezz, P2 Jorge, P3 Acosta, P4 Didier, and P5 Ayogura. At this point, Ayogura as well was showing good late race pace. On lap 20, Jorge was within 1 second of Bezz. Joan Mir crashed out, having just cleared Fabio a lap or so ago. Ayogura got through Digi into the chicane, so Digi also moving up places, and then with the crash and all this from Jorge, many people gained positions as well. Where is it? Where is it? Ayogura was 0.8 seconds behind Acosta in P3. Binder as well ended up crashing out. By lap 22, Bezz was still in P1, but 0.8, so 8 tenths ahead of Jorge. Jorge was 9 tenths ahead of Acosta in P3, and Acosta was 4 tenths ahead of Ayogura in P4. So when Ayogura was 4 tenths behind Acosta, Digi was just they were thereabouts in touching distance with Ayogura. But Digi late race pace just never came for Digi. Digi just he just faded off. Let's just say that. Ayogura kept cutting the gap and kept getting closer to Acosta, and then into the chicane. Coming out the chicane, ended up doing a block pass to get P3 from Acosta, and then from there Acosta just ended up dropping like a stone. Not exactly dropping like a stone, but he ended up tailing off. And this was the first time he had 3 Aprilia bikes, 2 factories and 1 satellite, I think you call it, the trackhouse bikes. I think they're satellite bikes. In the top 3, Jorge Bezz. Jorge was on Bezz's rears at this point on lap 23. With 4 laps to go, where is it? Bezz P1, Jorge on his rears in P2, and then 1.7 seconds to P3 Ayogura, and about a second to Acosta in P4. Martin kept lining it up, but not sure what was happening over there. I guess he kept poking a wheel, but he couldn't get through on Bezz. Bezz's defense at that point was quite strong. It felt so he kept poking a wheel here and there, but Bezz seemed to have it covered. And Bezz also, by the way, even with the defense, you could just see that Bezz was the slower bike of the two. So Jorge getting through was inevitable, basically at some point, not at one point. With 3 laps to go, Jorge out the final corner lined it up. So coming out the final corner under acceleration, made sure to stick with Bezz and not to let Bezz get away and have some bike lengths created between the two. He kept it close and lined it up for the entry into the chicane and got Bezz into the chicane basically for the lead. Acosta and Bezz's tires at that point, I guess they were just cooked. But the good thing for Bezz was that he had enough to defend with Ayogura, and I guess Ayogura may have taken a lot out of his tires that he couldn't. He was making an impression on Bezz here and there, but they never really went wheel to wheel as such. There was a possibility for Ayogura to get P2, but it just never panned out. And Digi to get P4. Digi did end up getting P4 ahead of Acosta, but the top 3 remained the top 3. So your top 3 with 3 Aprilias, 2 factory and 1 satellite. Jorge won by about half a second to Bezz, and then Bezz was about 4 tenths ahead of Ayagura. And again, Bezz won by about 4 tenths to Bezz. And when he got into P2, when he first got into P2, he was 1.6 seconds behind Bezz, who was leading at that time. So he gained 2 seconds, man. 2 seconds of race time he gained. Uh, just an incredible run that he put on, Jorge Martin. An incredible run he put on. Let's go to the race results. 3 Aprilias on the podium, triple Aprilia podium, 2 factories and a satellite. Jorge took top spot. Bezz four tenths behind him. Ayagura, where's Ayagura? Ayagura was 4 and a bit tenths behind Bezz, and then everyone else was just so far behind. Didier brings up P4. Acosta brought up P5, Fabio in P6. Fabio had a good fight. Basically, the whole race, the fight was over here P5, P6, P7, P8. You had the Trackhouse bikes, you had Joan Mir, you had Fabio, you had Enea, and basically that's where your whole fight, this whole race was. Everything else was pretty much settled apart from the odd overtakes that happened elsewhere. Where my Fabio P6 and Nea P7, Ralph Fernandez P8. Famin did well. He did well. Finished in the points P9. Luca Marini P10. Where? Joan Zarco P11. Alex Rins P12. Toprak P13. Frankie P14. Jack Miller 15th. And Jonas Folger P16. Your DNFs did not finishes Brad Binder, Juan Mir, Banyaya, Morera, Alex Rins, and of course your one non-starter being Marc Marquez. So that is your rundown for the weekend. Again, can't freaking go live. Just a quick couple of things before we end it. Quick. Open. I noted a quick couple of things. The silly season of MotoGP is basically in full swing. There is moves that are so unexpected, especially from me. I don't expect these moves to come through, but the rumors circulating the paddock are just crazy. While that is loading, don't know why it's taking forever. While that is loading, a couple of things. Jorge Martin's first win since he won the title in 2024, since Mandalika. That's about 500 and a bit days. Nearly. Well, not really nearly. But yeah, a year and a long bit. I wanted to say nearly 2 years, but no, not nearly 2 years. Mandalika. Since Mandalika, that man has not stepped on the top step of a GP podium. And he got sprint last weekend, he got sprint this weekend, he got the race this weekend as well. If Jorge is at 100%, he is a force to reckon with. The point deficit between Jorge, between the leader and Marc, I think was 44 points. Not sure of the standings right now, but where is this? Let's just pull out the standings. But basically, at some point, the difference between the leader and Marc was 44 points. And Marc, where's Marc? No. Right. What is all this? See, this is the problem with MotoGP. The app is a bit confusing. Load the standings. Where's Mark? The gap. Okay, yeah, the gap is now 71. So a stat came out of Mark saying that he has turned over a lot of deficits. And I think 41 was from the sprint, and then that increased after the race. So don't think the Ducatis are in this. It's a straight fight between the two Aprilia boys and Digier, who is somewhere in touching distance. Since we did talk of the standings, let's just get to it. Benzeki leads the standings with 128 points. Jorge Martin P2 in the standings with 127 points. P3 Fabio Di Antonio 84 points. He's 44 points behind the leader, and Pedro Acosta is P4 with 83 points. He's 45 points behind the leader. Let's just stick to that. Marc Marquez has been ruled out with the crash in the sprint. He's been ruled out from the race in Le Mans, of course. He didn't take part. And he's also been ruled out of the Catalan GP. So basically, it's a 2-week break to Catalan, and I think there's another break after Catalan. So there was already a thought process in the Marquez camp to get the screws fixed, to have a surgery to get the screws fixed. But now he's also got a foot fracture because of yesterday's crash. So Marc is gonna have some time off. Ducati are going to be a one bike show for some bit. Hopefully, something comes out. Something exciting should come out. Let's see. It should be a spanner in the works. Have 3-4 riders vying for the title. Some other news related to off-track action. You have what's his name? Davide Brivo, the man who set up the teams, who built up teams such as Yamaha and Suzuki. That man has been being, let's say, transferred. He has signed a contract with Honda. He is now going to be a consultant. I think, is the role at Honda. So Honda are evaluating and what should I say, revolving a lot of things in their management. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there with Honda. It'll be very interesting to see what happens over there. Honda let go of a few people, or a few people left, whichever way you want to put it. And so they signed Davide Brivio for some expertise. Now, I don't know if I should get into this, because again, it's not going to be confirmed until it's announced. But let's get into silly season, right? Your driver lineups. Boy, oh boy. Ducati rumored to be letting go of Pecco. Pecco is heading to. Where's Pecco heading? Pecco is heading to Aprilia, apparently. Apparently, it's all done and dusted, but we are waiting for. I think 70 or 90% of the contracts for next year's grid are done and dusted, but we are waiting for some regulation amendments to come through. I think something regarding 27 regs is to come through, and then everything else will be announced, is the understanding I have. So Pecco Bagnaia possibly moving to Aprilia. Marco is staying. Jorge, last year we knew Jorge is breaking contracts, so Aprilia fought to keep him on the bike this year, and then that's it. Aprilia don't want anything to do with Jorge. Completely understandable. Jorge was quite troublesome, so completely understandable. He'd done it before, right? I think he was racing at Yamaha. Was it Jorge? Was it Maverick? No, no, it was Maverick. Maverick was racing at Yamaha, and he broke his contract and forced situations and all this. So yeah, when riders break contracts, it's not really that good. But hopefully, well, if both parties agree, the rider and the team, it's fine. But if it's the rider forcing situations, then it creates a problem. Uh, in Ducati, you have Marc staying at Ducati and possibly being paired up with Pedro Acosta. Now, Pedro, I thought him and Binder were secured for the long term, but not to be the case. Not to be the rumored case. Again, this is all rumors. It's all in the air. Firmine and Fabio Di Giannantonio rumored to be staying at VR46. Enea and Daniel Holgado. So this is Moto2 rider Enea Bastianini and Danny Holgado, rumored to be going to Gresini. I saw that Enea wanted to go, but then KTM were possibly looking to block his move to Gresini, if I saw that correctly. So I'm not sure. I think KTM want him, but I don't think Enea wants KTM. Aprilia, Bezzecchi stays. Pecco rumored to be going to Aprilia. And Trackhouse, Raul Fernandez, and Joan Mir possibly. If Joan Mir goes to Trackhouse, I'd be happy for him. He would be on a satellite Aprilia. He'd get off the Honda. I think it'll be good for him. What's this other one? Okay, the main Honda team. I think it's LCR Honda. No, LCR Honda is Joanne and Diego Moreira, so they're keeping the same lineup. But Honda, which other Honda is it? The basically what used to be the Repsol Honda, that one. Quattararo and Davide Alonso. Quattararo leaving Yamaha for Honda. Interesting, very interesting. KTM, Red Bull, KTM, Maverick, and Alex. But then I saw another thing saying that perhaps Pecco is going to KTM. So again, it's all in the air. It's all in the air. It's all rumors until it's official. Tech 3, Luca and Manuel Gonzalez. Jorge Martin is going to Yamaha. This seems very likely from what I understand. Ayagura and Jorge are going to be teaming up at Yamaha. And what's his name? Toprak and Izan Guevara go to Premac Yamaha, sorry. It seems Alex Rins is then out of a ride. Next season. Let's see. Basically, these are just rumored driver changes. The market is all up and down. A whole lot of contracts in the air, a whole lot of drivers' futures in the air. There will be an official announcement, hopefully, I think mid-season. We'll talk about it then, but again, it's all rumors. So this was MotoGP sprint, race, and some nonsense here and there. I will see you guys tomorrow for IPL. We have two matches that went on tonight. We will talk about them tomorrow. Like, comment, subscribe. That's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else. Let me know in the comments if I've missed something. If you want me to talk about something, let me know in the comments. Till then, I'll see you next time.